Hello, everybody. I'm excited to bring you this week's blog post. We have been publishing blog posts and interviews for the last 52 weeks. This is our anniversary issue. When we started the blog, the world was in the middle of a global pandemic. 2 weeks earlier, we had watched George Floyd's gruesome murder under the knee of a police officer. Like millions of others, I was personally distraught. At that moment, the world changed. Suddenly, I knew I had to do more. My phone was ringing. I had spent several decades doing research, consulting, and teaching on how to foster leadership and racial and social justice. I had received generous support for my research for nearly a decade from Dr. McConnor Brown O'Connor. The responsibility I already felt to pass along what I had learned felt even heavier. So we started the blog. 24 weeks later, we launched Pathfinders, a membership program for those who are committed to leadership for racial and social justice. These blog posts are an essential feature of the program. Members read one post every 2 weeks, discuss it online, and then engage in practice exercises about it. After Pathfinders got off the ground, we refined and launched our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Survey. You will now hear from four leaders. Three are from Pathfinders, and one engaged in the DEI survey in her organization. They openly share their experiences and learning with you. I have been delighted and gratified at what our team has been able to accomplish this past 52 weeks. It humbles me to reflect on what people have gained, and especially the four leaders you will hear from us. They willingly partnered with us to advance their learning to benefit themselves, their organizations, and the people they serve. Next week, we will resume our normal blog posts, bringing you insightful interviews and information about leadership for racial and social justice in whatever setting you find yourself in. This week, we celebrate our members and what they have learned. I hope you enjoy hearing what these four special leaders have to say. We would love it if you would leave comments below. We're glad you're here. What specific problem were you wanting guidance to solve?
As a leader at DIR, I see part of our responsibility being to ensure that DIR is a safe space for everyone, or at least, that I'm working towards cultivating that. And I felt like Pathfinders has been a stepping stone in my own development towards that goal, as well as some of the other folks who have engaged in it with me who are also DIR staff members. So that was a problem. Like, how can I get some help, some training, some practice, experience, engaging in conversations about race?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is very important to the Alzheimer's Association. It's also very important to me. Recent events have made that more and more clear. And even though I considered myself an ally prior to a year ago or 2 years ago, or prior to the election of the past president, it became, to my mind, it became a critical issue.
I did have a number of staff approach me early on when I started at Ronald McDonald House Houston, saying that they didn't really feel like folks felt that they could be open about any thoughts that they had. They didn't feel like they could be their authentic self. And the advice I was given was really for people to be able to be really honest. They felt like we needed to seek out a third party to help us to do a survey for all of the staff.
I'm very passionate about advancing and being a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion, typically in the companies that I work for or have worked for. And I was trying to find a way to really strengthen my knowledge base and outside of the company provided training. So I was wondering, should I take college courses or is there a certification that I could pursue? And last year I got an email about this offering. So it's just the right offering at the right time for me.
What were the pain points to not having a solution?
The pain point for not having an effective way to lead, engage in, cultivate productive conversations about race meant that issues around race at DIR would go unaddressed. I think this is particularly important because DIR is an African American owned firm with 70% of the staff being minorities. So the assumption, unspoken, I think, assumption had been that there isn't a race issue at DIR. We are all more alike than we are different. But that could not be further from the truth.
I think my pain points were more that it was hard to have a plan. I really work out any sort of goal that an organization is going to have is that we're going to do it based on data and information that we have. And so I didn't really feel like I had the data and the baselines to even begin to plan, to know what we should do to improve at Ronald McDonald House Houston.
I always do this work on the side of my desk. It's, something I do outside of my regular day-to-day job. But I know that I am, as I mentioned, very passionate about it and am thinking about, is this something I can do professionally? But I want to be taken seriously and I want to be well equipped. So one of the reasons that I am interested in pursuing more training and development in this area is just so that I can have the right knowledge base, so that I can be well equipped and really be able to have a significant impact and drive change as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Even though someone considers themselves to be relatively unbiased, I think we since we grow up in to my mind, grow up in a biased world, we say things and do things without realizing that we're perpetuating the problem. And I wanted to do what I could do to be part of the solution, to be more effective in advocating and taking action to increase equity and inclusion.
Those are skills that most people are lacking when it comes to race in particular, because we can't take our own personal experiences away from the conversation at hand, even if it's not our own personal experience with race in the workplace. So that is a true pain point for me as a leader, and not getting a solution to this problem would create a workspace that does not align with some of our core values, which, for example, is to provide a supportive and learning and work environment for employees. And if they don't feel like they can talk about race in the workplace and that it's a safe space to do so, I don't think we are adhering to our core values. So that's a personal pain point that I took on myself. And I brought some other folks along with me. There are other folks who are committed to figuring this out as well, but I didn't, when I saw Pathfinders come up, I thought, well, I got to give it a shot, because it is really important to me that we get this done right, or that we're trying to.
What was it like to partner with us?
I find it to be a collaborative learning experience. You have quite a bit of engagement with other peers, colleagues, but I really love the fact that you get direct coaching through the course and through the program, through consultants and experts, and you get direct learning from Jean Ladding, and it's a great opportunity to build on the learning.
So working with Jean during the survey process was a dream. I really just appreciated her guidance, and I appreciated her at a number of levels. One was that she has such a good sense of the data, but more importantly, she really has an amazing amount of emotional intelligence to just understand where people are coming from. She can sometimes just feel kind of a backstory to why someone is asking a question that they were asking. And so not only was she able to help us think through what the survey should look like, but just guiding us as a group in order to get to a place that we could really take advantage of the information.
I'm a reader, and I very much appreciate having the opportunity to read thought-provoking material. I also would be a perpetual student if I could. So I really appreciate the opportunity to go through written exercises and think about the material, and also to provide comments to the rest of the group of Pathfinders, and then participate in small meetings. But in my experience, being a member of Pathfinders goes another step toward helping us be more effective. I think we're held to account, and that part of the exercises and part of the small group discussions includes, what action steps we're going to take. So I appreciate that further step.
And in addition to that, we also have the opportunity to challenge ourselves, however it makes sense for us. So we leave the group meetings with tools to help us practice what we just learned, or at least sit with them, reflect on what we just learned, and think about how we can implement it in real time. And I think one of the great things about being a member of Pathfinders is that that everyone is there to talk about race, or to hear conversations about race so that they can eventually talk about race. So it's like coming together, not knowing exactly how people interpret it, the things that the topic for the day, but then being open to hearing how all of those perspectives really help the individuals become stronger as they talk about race.
When did you realize that you were getting results worth your while?
We just had the opportunity to see the results from the survey, and they really exceeded my expectations. The part that I thought was so interesting was the way that Jean was able to break out the data so that we could see it in so many different ways, age, ethnicity. It helped me to see just how people's views are different, that I wouldn't have seen just from one version of the survey. And so it's really already given me a lot of insights without even seeing recommendations yet from our DEI committee, but just really giving me a much better sense of where the staff stands today.
Even though we've all been around each other for about 6 years and have what I believe a strong rapport, and some trust there was still a need to build trust with each other in this space. And that was very evident from the beginning. Just in folks sort of being hesitant to speak, not sure if they wanted to share or add a perspective. But about the third or fourth session, I saw a shift, and some of it was just, I think, folks being more comfortable, and Jean was doing some prodding, not heavy prodding, but just some light prodding. And the discussion started to go deeper, and people were being more open and more vulnerable with each other.
Each module requires some action. If you know anything about Dr. Jean Ladding, there's going to be an opportunity for you to walk the talk and put things into practice. And we went through a module that really dealt with the type of environment, the type of culture that individuals create And one of the exercises really dealt with finding out if people enjoy working with me. So I actually solicited feedback from coworkers, and got some feedback that I didn't quite expect, that I was able to then kind of follow up on and learn a little bit more so I could make some behavioral changes. And that was very beneficial in terms of, some of the results that I saw kind of going through the program. I was able to get some tangible feedback that I could act on and improve the way that I work with others.
I could see the fruits of the action steps that I took when, first of all, that I was taking action steps. I wasn't just watching and reading the news and thinking to myself, that's terrible, but actually taking action on a personal level. And I have seen myself become a better friend, a better ally, and also become a better manager.
What big wins have you achieved by partnering with us?
I think a huge win that we had was the participation that we received from the survey. So we were hoping for at least 50% participation. We had 63% participation. I think we've got a lot of employees that are really engaged and excited about it. They also really appreciated the fact that we did utilize Gene, that we had a third party that really gave them an opportunity to really be honest. And they have a lot of confidence that all of that was anonymous for them, so they could be really honest with their information.
I have the opportunity to put things in practice with every module that we actually complete. So there's an opportunity to have a direct impact. But I would say for me, the big win was really learning the visualization exercise and approach. And also too, just the connection to the others in the program. I'm establishing relationships with people who are also passionate and also dedicated to this work. So that's also a big win in my view.
Getting to a point within that group where they saw me as a participant with my own struggles and not just their supervisor, their leader. That was a big win for me. That's a wall that I can work tirelessly to break down and say, look, in this space, I'm one of y'all. There is no power dynamic here. And it won't make a single bit of difference to some folks until they decide they're able to see, to remove that power dynamic and see me just as a participant. When we made that kind of shift, or when they made that kind of shift, the conversation went to a place where I was hearing what I thought was very candid feedback that I could actually do something with, as opposed to high level, vague feedback, folks not really wanting to give real examples because they don't want to reveal anything or start something. And I saw those walls being broken down. And for me to be effective, I have to be able to have a space where folks can let down those walls and talk to me about the real issue without any kind of nervousness, any kind of fear in any kind of way, especially when it comes to race.
It's given me the courage to act upon the things that I knew were lacking in my life that I mentioned earlier. I've become intentional in mentoring my direct reports, who happen to be two young people of color in their first professional work. And I'm, in addition, making a point of utilizing my networks to help several African-American women to have increased career opportunities. And last but definitely not least is I've made new friends.
What would you say to someone thinking about partnering with us?
Pathfinders provides a framework for bringing your intellectual and emotional assets to bear on a crucial challenge that our society faces, that of equity and inclusion. You'll have the opportunity to talk about hard topics with others who are there for similar reasons. And then you have the opportunity to put the teaching into practice through personal exercises, group discussions, and being held to account for walking the walk.
Pathfinders gives you a safe space to just jump in and try it. You may get it wrong, you may get it right the first time, but you're going to get better either way. as you keep going throughout the process. Even if you're comfortable talking about race, if you're comfortable leading courageous conversations, asking the tough questions, I still recommend Pathfinders. I just believe we cross paths with so many different people, and that the opportunity to deliberately talk about race will help the world in general, help all kinds of environments and circles and industries. Because right now we are talking to folks who think like us. We don't engage with folks who don't think like us. And so I feel like Pathfinders, you don't know who's coming to the table. All you do know is that they've signed up to talk about a conversation about a racially charged environment. So that's what I think. That's what I would say to someone. Jump in, close your eyes, open them up, but jump in and get ready for a ride.
I would say being a member is a very unique experience. And being vulnerable is a big part of it. So, you're sharing information with others and learning from others. So it's be ready to dig into yourself, and also be vulnerable enough to share that with others, I think is a key component of the program. The other thing I would say is make sure that if you are stepping into this program, that you're willing to invest the time to get the full benefit. It's comprehensive, and I think that if you try to shortchange some of the steps, you may miss out. And so just be willing to invest some time in it.
I would say I cannot imagine them using anybody but Jean.
Could you laugh? That's good enough. I'll stop. Thank you.